Okay, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Siobhan Richards. So from the discussion or first discussion, we stopped at data types in Python, and we saw that we have these categories of data types here. So for this video, we'll do some hands-on where we practice declaring and initializing these data types. So if you don't have a IDE already downloaded, you could go on the internet and you could say online Python compiler. It's really an interpreter. It's fine. So quick Google search and just get this one, right? It comes with some code here, print, right? So we could run. It prints successful, right? Try program. Ms.pro, right? Okay, so let's practice, right? So our first data type on the table, it's text type, and the only type there is a string type, so we could practice declaring data type. So you've never written a line of code, so let's practice. So you type my snake case, let's say first string, right? Set it equal maybe your name, right? So Elmo or something, right? So alright, so that's a string, right? And you could practice declaring another string. So my first or second, my second string, set that equal to Bert or something, okay? So that's how you declare and initialize a string. Very easy for dynamically type language. It's a similar approach for scripting language, right? So usually for C++ you'd have to say, right, string, right, or lowercase string for C++ or Java. So that's how you declare a string. And then if we want to print, we call our print function here, just like before, and then you type in your variable name, my first string, okay, and then maybe you want to print another my second string. Okay. So we could run these, right? So it prints Elmo, then it prints Bird. So that's how we declare a string. And just to note, Python has this type operator. So let's add that. So control / type operator. So this type operator, it displays the type of the variable. Okay. All right. So it declares the type of the variable. So if I need to know the type, which is the category, right, of the variable, if we should look back on our categories here, I just wrap the type function over the variable name, and it'll print the type of the variable. So if I do let's say I do print here, so it returns it returns the type of the variable, right? So print type function, my first, let's see what's going on here, my first string. So if you do that, it'll return that it's a class string object, and we'll cover class later on. So that's basically the text type in Python. Let's see, because usually programming languages you also have character types, but not for Python. So let's say my char. Okay, let's set this to A, and then let's see what's the type of my char. Let's print my char. So print, let's print my char there, and then here do a print mychar. Well, type. Okay. If you print type mychar, let's see, it's a string, right? So it's a single character and it's a string. So Python views even a character value as a string. So let's see here. Let's see if we could do mychar without the string. Probably some error, right? And let's try to print the type here. Let's make this mychar2. Okay, mychar2. And let's now update this to mychar2. And let's try to print mychar2, the type of mychar2 there. Okay. Right, so that's an error, so it's not going to read it like that, right? Because usually character values you need to wrap in some quotations. So let's try double quotation here. We did single, usually it's single in the other languages that statically type, but now we do double. Okay, still a string. So we see here the string type is the only type in the text type for Python. So we just discovered something. All right, so we look at string. Let's name this part here. So to comment, you need the pound, right? So let's call this text type. Strings, okay? No characters. No character type in Python, okay? Okay. No character type in Python. So let's do the next layer here. So next layer of declaring, and we'll do the numeric types. Okay. Okay. So let's look at the numeric types. So here, the numeric types, we have ints, floats, and complexes. Okay, complex numbers. So ints, floats, complex. Okay. And yeah, sometimes we use complex numbers in engineering. You'll see that, right? Like for signal processing, Nyquist diagrams, you'll have complex numbers. Sometimes even with forces, we may use complex numbers. Will you see it often? Maybe, maybe not, right? Depending on what application you're trying to write. Okay. So let's look at declaring a int, and it's gonna be really easy, right? Because again, Python is dynamically typed. So my first int, okay, and then you set that to an integer value. Let's say 10 or 102. Okay, 102. Floats need some decimals. So my first float, and then you set that to 102.33. Okay. And then my first, which one is the next one? Complex, okay? Set that maybe 10 minus. For complex numbers, you need to add this imaginary number for the direction of the imaginary number. So you have J, I, K from engineering and stuff. So like 10 J, okay? And then we could check these types here, okay? So let's remove this line of code. Let's do, shift up, control X there. Let's move that line of code in the text types, and then we could copy. Let's do this here. Shift here. Control X here. All right. So let's do this type section here for that one. Maybe we should have kept the top layer there. So we should. Control C here, and then add that there. Okay, so we have one section for text with the types and declaration and initialization of the variable, and then we have this other section for the types for declaration and initialization, as well as types for the numeric variables. Okay. All right. So here, instead of my first string, we could say my first int here, right? And then here we do my first float. And then we could copy this line of code. So you go all the way back, you hit shift, and then go in the direction, control X down, control Z, control C, control V. You made a copy there, and then instead of my first float, you need my first complex. All right, so this will, and well, we need to print as well. So let's go up to the top here. Okay, and then do a shift down, 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 control C, come here, and we could control V here, and then what did I just do? And then update these, right? So instead of my second string, we call this my first float. Okay, and then the top one is an int. Okay. Right, and then the other one I could copy here. Shift, Control C, Shift, Control V, because I hate typing. My first complex. Okay, so we will print and then print the type for those as well. Okay, so here you'll see this part here belongs to the string, and then this one here is the numeric types, all the numeric types in Python. Okay, the other types we have, and we could follow the slides here. So we did the string here. So just know that the string is text or sequence of characters, right? ASCII or Unicode. Numeric types, we have three types: ints, floats, complex. So integers are typically whole numbers, while floats are decimal numbers, and complex has that imaginary component on the number itself. Okay, so the next types are sequence types, and you'll use these for collections, right? Like if you have a collection of books in your software, collection of users, right? So these are very important, right? Because in real world, you'll be handling a lot of collection of stuff, right? So you'll need to know how to have that sequence, whether it's ordered or unordered sequences. Okay, so let's look at sequence types, right? So let's copy, right? So we don't have to keep typing all of this, right? We could just copy all of this because it's the same type of code here, and then just go a little down here, right? Then update, instead of numeric here, we could go over and call these sequence. And then instead of could have highlighted that, but instead of ints, we'll have list, tuple, and range. Those are the three types for sequence types. So instead of my first int, we'll have my first list. Okay. Then instead of my first float, we'll have my first tuple. Okay. And then instead of my first tuple, we'll have my first range. Okay. So for range, you'll have the range operator. That's again, you remember keywords, so that's a built-in keyword in Python. All right, so we'll need to update this, right? So I'll just make a comment here. Okay. So to create a list, you'll need the square square braces, right? So lists are created using these, okay? The next point is tuples are created using these, okay? And then the last point is range. Let's make control range are created using range keyword. Okay. Okay. Let me see here. All right. So if we need to create a list, let me just add the next level here. Range is the square brackets and commas. Right. So this one and comma. Okay. So why do we need this list and tuple? They both have a collection, right? So why does Python do that? Well, it's for immutability purposes, right? So what do I mean by immutability? Basically, for a list, once you create it, you can modify the contents, right? But for a tuple, once it's created, you can't modify the contents in the tuple, right? So the list is mutable, meaning you could mutate the state, right? You could change the state. While tuple is immutable, meaning you can't change the state once it's created. Okay. So again, mutability, immutability is usually for security purposes in your programming. So that falls under kind of like encapsulation in a sense. It's not really classes, but again, we're securing that data structure with the immutability characteristic or mutability characteristic. Okay, so let's create our first list. So we have square braces. We could do so. Just remember, these lists is kind of like a step up, right? So you could have a list of lists in there, right? So that's the beauty of code. You could have a list of lists. You could have a list of integers. You could have a list of strings. You could have a list of tuples. You could have a list of whatever data type you have, right? Whatever primitive data type, right? You could have a list of dictionaries, which we'll cover again. Okay. Okay, so for lists, let's do a list of integers. So like 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay. Let's also do a list of tuples. So remember, curve braces for the tuple, square for the list. Let's do a list of integers again. Okay, and then a matter of fact, let's do a list of complex numbers. Right, just to I'm gonna change this to a list of maybe list of floats. Okay, and then let's do a list of complex numbers. So the next one, this could be, let's see here, could be 1 minus 6 j comma 2 plus 6 maybe 7 j. Okay. So when we do type here, that's the range. Okay, I didn't see that. So this is the range. So to do range, you'll have your range operator. So range, let's say 0 to 10. Okay, I didn't realize it's a range here. But we can do a list of complex types. So let's just copy the top one here. Right, so we have our list, tuple, and range. Okay, let's just copy this one here and do a list of complex types. So 10 minus 2 j Okay, 20 plus 5j. Okay, and then 30 plus 7. Let's do plus 7j. Okay, let's get rid of 40 there. Okay, so this is our second list. All right, so instead of first list, let's change this to second. And that's the beauty of snake case, right? You could easily change variables by using that underscore as a delimiter. Okay. All right, so we have first list, second list, and also first range. Okay, so let's update these. All right, so when we update here, my first list, we're gonna see if it's really gonna print, right? And it might not print, but let's just be naive and just try to print as we did the last time, because it's your first time coding, right? Okay, and then my first my second list, okay, and then my first tuple, okay, and then we could copy this one, so shift, we could do a shift out there, so shift control C down, control V. Okay, so instead of my first tuple here, we'll do my first range. All right, so that's what we have there. Since we covered these ones already, let's just comment out those, okay, and focus purely on these ones here, right, which is our sequence types. Okay, so hope you're still with me, right? So we covered numeric types, we covered text types, and we are here with sequence types, which are important because this allows us to have collections in our application, right? So if it's a collection of books, collection of user IDs, right? So very important stuff. Okay, so if we print list here, okay, let's see here. Okay, so we need to update these. We didn't update the second half here, and we need to wrap these in types. I'm move a little faster here. Okay, let's do type open. Let's do type here, open, type, open, type. So we need to see those types, right? Okay, so Python prints. All right, so for some, like for a statically typed language, you can't really print the list, right? Because it's a indexed data structure. But for Python, it actually shows displays the object, right? The object itself. Okay, so here it shows you that we have this list of integers 10, 20, 30, 40. That's the list of integer values. And then the other case here, we have a list of complex numeric types, right? So we have 10 minus 2j, 20 plus 5j, and so on. All right, and then the last case here, we have this tuple, all right, tuple of floats, so 10.23. And then the other case is the range from 0 to 10. Okay. Okay. So once we have this list here, the next thing we may need to do with a list, with a collection, is to access the values in our collection. To do that, because these are index-based underlined data structures here, we'll use the same square braces or square value that we use for declaring the list as the accessing symbol. Okay, so we could say here is used. So if we have, let's say 0, that's the first first value in our data structure. So that's the convention used to access values in a collection. Except for range, right? Range is more of a range of numbers, right? So, but we could try it. I've never tried it before, like accessing using the array notation or list notation to access with a range, but we could try it, right? So maybe I'll discover something here, right? So let's access the first value of all these declarations that we have, these sequence types. Let's access the first value. So we're expecting 10 minus 2j for the second list, 10.23 and 0 for range. Okay, so let's print. Let's also print the type, just to show that the overall data structure or the overall type is a list, but these values inside are of a different type, right? So you see how cool the type operator is. So let's do that. 0 here. Let's update here. Let's update here. Okay. So again, right? So all I did was to add at the end this notation at the end, and it's like a accessor, right? So it's an accessor, right? So it's no longer an array, right? Or listing is used to access whatever value inside the list. So for example, here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 values in this list. So if I need to access the first value is 0 index, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'll have from index 0 to 3. Okay, so let's just access the first value here. Wow, it prints, right? So it prints all the first value, even for range, right? So even for range, since it's the range keyword, so the underlying data structure for a range is probably a list or a tuple. Even for the range, it prints, right? The value that's the first index of the range, right? So okay, so let's try. So 0 to 10, right? So we have index 0 to 9, right? Since it's 0 to 10, or wait, 0 to 9. So let's try accessing the third value in all these sequence types. Okay, so we'll just change that 0 value here. Well, third value should be 2. So here we'll access the fourth value, right? Just remember 0 base. Okay, so this is the fourth value in our. So it's always index minus 1. Okay, so fourth value. Okay, so we updated all those to 3, and let's see what happens. And then in the next video, I'll pick up on mapping types. So you should have a basic understanding of all these accessing the sequence types and the type of the underlying type inside the sequence type. We'll actually look at for loops with these, but this is a good start. So later on, when we cover a control structure, we'll see how the for loop or any loop or how loops are used to access these values when we create different algorithms. Okay, what's that one? Okay, error. Which one is that? 40. Oh, okay, so it's yeah, that's because my second list here only have. Let me just add a value there. So 20 plus 3j. Right, so if you read here, it says index error, right? So whenever you see an index error, it means you're trying to access something that's beyond the index of the list or the sequence type. Okay, so again, the compiler is your friend. Okay. Still got index error 0, 1. Yeah. So okay, let's just add another value here. Okay. Now we have all the values. So if the cool thing here is the range type. All right, it's my first time using list notation, accessing notation on the range type. But the range type seems to be it's a sequence type, so it makes sense, right? So to try, right? So here you see here we have the values, right? So we have 40, which is the third, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then here for the complex, 0, 1, 2, 3. Right, so 20 plus 3j, the last one here, 10.33. And then in the range, 0, 1, 2, 3, which is the fourth value, right? So yeah. All right, so makes sense, right? So, and then we see the underlying type. So this is a integer collection, right? Inside our first list. And then this one, second list, is a complex type collection, and then the third is a float collection, and then the range here is integer. All right. So maybe you guys might want to try to see if you could create a range with complex numbers. I never did that. Does it make sense? I don't know, but would you try? It's a good thing to try, right? Try to break what works, and then you may discover something new about Python. Okay. Just a note from here in the slides as well, you could have lists which have different types being mixed in Python, right? I didn't do it here, but over here I did, right? So you could mix these data types inside your collection inside Python. In statically typed language, that's not usually done. Okay. All right. So I hope you have some insight on declaring and initializing data types, as well as accessing sequence types, right? Accessing the different values or index values in your sequence type in your data types. And we've just discovered index errors, which means your list is your index that you're trying to access is beyond the range of your sequence type. All right. All right. Happy coding. Hope I impart something here. Okay. Thank you.